Understanding a color's characteristics when you're purchasing a watercolor paint is important. For example, this is how a Schminke Horadam half pen watercolor looks like. So there are important information on the label prints. So the stars indicate light fastness of the color, which is its resistance against discoloring or fading in normal circumstances. The square represents opacity of the color, while the triangular indicates the staining level of the color. This is helpful when it comes to lifting the pigment from the paper when you make mistakes or to create special effects on your painting. You can always refer to your paint brand's website to understand the paint labels better. So in case you lose the paint's label, you can refer back to their website. However, the color codes are still printed on the palettes. So based on the quick explanation given on the watercolor labels, I am going to demonstrate those criteria of the watercolor paint using these 3 Horadam watercolor tubes. These are 5 ml tubes. Just comparing it against the half pen size, this is how it looks like. As in tube, obviously due to the size, you can see the details on the label much bigger compared to the half pen ones. As you can see, Horadam is the superior quality paint versus the academy ones or student grade, and this is the name of the color. And as for the color code, as I showed earlier for the half pen, it's on the side. The tube ones, it's on the front part of the label itself, as you can see here. You notice there is a numbering. Okay, for the tube one, you can see there's a number 1 here, and as for the half pen, you can see there's a number 2. This indicates the pricing tier, and if I'm not mistaken, there are 4 price tiers, so the higher the number, the more pricey the paint is. And one of the first characteristics of the paints are the light fastness, represented by the stars. You can notice there are 4 stars on this tube, okay, versus only 2 stars on the half pen of this color, which is violet, and this is lamp black. So as I mentioned earlier, light fastness is the durability of the color, or its resistance against discoloring or fading. So the higher the number of stars, the more durable the color is. That means chances of it fading is going to be very, very less. And even though this has 2 stars, which is still considered of good quality, since this is professional colors, it's just that comparing it against the ones with 4 or 5 stars, of course this has a higher chance of fading. So over here I have the color Cobalt Blue Light, which has got 5 stars, higher than the earlier color Lamp Black that I showed. See, this is just 4 star and 5 star. And how evident it is against this rating or the grading labeled by the paint maker, we wouldn't know, as only time will tell. But I am pretty confident, since they are a professional brand, their colors would last across many years, as in more than 10 years, or even take decades. And of course it's subject to how you care for your painting. Once you've done your painting, it's subject to how you care for your painting, as in how it is stored. in a cool, dry place, and framed well with less exposure to sunlight, as well as less or zero exposure to humidity or vapor, as in bathroom. I'm not sure how many people keep their framed painting in a bathroom, but it is highly advisable to avoid these kind of places. And of course kitchen, where there's more exposure to oil, vapor, steam, and various smell from your cooking, from the meat, vegetable, or even spices. So this can destroy or tarnish your painting. So if you store them well, obviously you will get long durability of your painting based on the ratings given by your paint producers. And the second characteristics that I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this video is the opacity, represented by the square sign. Okay, so this square sign with split in diagonally shows that this is semi-transparent. So if you check out the Schminker website, you can see all these details. And lastly, the staining, level of staining, represented by the triangular. Okay, looks like the violet, which is the half pen, has a high level of staining, while the cobalt blue from the tube is semi-staining. So this color would be stronger staining your paper compared to this. So based on these characteristics, I am going to demonstrate, especially for beginners, so that you understand your paints well and what do these characters actually mean. Because I must say, a lot of us, or a lot of artists, could be ignorant and they end up investing in the wrong color choice and regret. So if you don't want to regret, I'll show you how to understand these characteristics of paints. And I'm going to use just these three colors, which is lamp black, olive green yellowish, and glacier blue. So in order to demonstrate these three colors characteristics, I have pre-sketched a card, as in I don't know, like similar to your color swatch card, and label them accordingly: lamp black, olive green, and glacier blue, as well as the main characteristics, which is the lightfastness, staining, and opacity. I'm going to use my typical round brush, so it doesn't matter what brush you use. You can do this, test your colors with a flat brush as well. So starting off with the lamp black, so I'm going to kickstart this demonstration by making a quick color swatch, just to show you how to make a typical color swatch. So I've wet my brush but not loaded them in too much with water. Okay. It's the color from the tube, so I'm going to place it over here. Okay, a big nice amount of thick paint, and use the wet brush to just move that pigment. Show you the gradient washes. So this is how it looks like when you do your color swatch from dark to lighter as you make more washes with water, or in other words we call it gradient wash. I have pre-sketched a leaf motif here with pencil for all the 3 colors because I would like to test the opacity. So as I paint on the pencil sketch, I think I will be able to show you what is the opacity level like for this color. So I'm going to get in some nice mix of this color and paint over it. Just paint over the motif. Alright, and of course while the paint is still wet, it looks dark. We'll come back and check the opacity when the painting is dry and move on to the next color. So the next color is the olive green yellowish. You can see here. I made the wash. I'm going to make the swatch, color swatch first. I think I need some more paint. Okay. And I'm going to use my wet brush. Just make it a gradient wash. Just drag in the pigment. Okay. This is how the gradient wash looks like, and I'll move on to painting the leaf motif. Can add in more color. At the end of the day, watercolor dries way much lighter, so it's okay if you want to add more color. And we shall leave that to dry as well. Now for the third color, which is glacier blue, this has an additional character, which is granulating. This is actually a special edition that I got in a box of 5 tubes of colors. So this has got a granulating effect, but I'm not going to focus on the granulating character today. I'm just telling you in case you see some pigment separation, because granulating colors often do that due to the chemical elements in it. So once again, I'm going to kickstart with the color swatch. Loading in more paint, and then making the gradient wash, just pulling the pigment. Moving on, painting the leaf motif. Load in more the paint. So I'm going to leave this entire card to dry and come back to our observation. So the painting is dry, and I'll start off with the first color, which is lamp black, and I'm going to observe the opacity of the color, which is represented by the square, and from the label it was fully colored box or square, which means this is fully opaque or opacity at the highest. and based on the leaf motif, can barely see the initial sketch, pencil sketch that I made. You can see it very lightly, but can hardly see it. So clearly the opacity for this particular color is very evident. You know, can hardly see it, even though watercolors are transparent, but they also have their level of transparency. So that's what is meant by the watercolor brand. So moving on to the second color, which is olive green yellowish. Well, you can notice a small line, the pre-sketch that I made earlier on this leaf motif, though you can't see on the corners because it's been fully painted, but the line in the middle of the leaf motif is not too visible, but you can still see it better than the first paint, which is why it is semi-transparent. It's not semi-opaque as well, but it is semi-transparent, not fully transparent. So the next color, which is glacier blue, and I mentioned that this is a granulating color, and you can notice from the swatch itself that there are some granules or dots or stains that are very strongly visible on the color swatch that I made. Compared to the other two colors, you don't notice anything like that. So this is what we mean by granulating colors, whereby the property in the paints, whereby the pigments tend to pull to each other, or they form into patterns or dots when water is applied. Usually these kind of paints are used to create some special effect on your paintings. So coming back to the opacity test, you can notice that of course there are the granulating effects, the spots or patterns on the leaf motif. I would say it's a cool effect. So if you're learning about granulating colors for the first time, this is how it looks like. And in fact, Schmincke has super granulating colors whereby you can see double tones, 2 or 3 tones as an effect pulled in the paints. So I don't think this has got dual colors, just singular color but with that granulating or patterns effect. And yes, I can still see the line. The line is still visible in the middle of the leaf motif, similar to the green one, which is why they both share the same opacity characteristics, which is semi-transparent. And I'm going to make the next demonstration in testing the staining level, which is represented by the triangular symbol. So in order to understand the staining characteristics of the paints, I would say lifting out the pigment from the paper would be the best way to understand the nature of staining. So in order to do that, I have just damped my brush. I don't want it to be soaked wet, and try to lift out the pigment from the painting or leaf motif, starting off with the black one. So I'm going to lift that with a damp brush and stain it on a paper towel. Can you re-wet your brush and damp it? Try to lift out the pigment again. Okay. Make sure you do it gently, because otherwise it's gonna cause abrasion to the paper surface. Don't want that to happen. Okay, and I'm gonna leave that to dry. So once again, with a clean damp brush, I'm gonna lift out from the second leaf motif, which is the green one. can even do this with a wet tissue. Maybe wet the surface and lift it with your tissue. For the third one, once again, clean damp brush. You can notice now itself that it seems much brighter. It's quite easy to lift it out. Okay, I'm sure you would have noticed that the color lifting on this leaf or color is much brighter. Alright, let's get back to our observation on the staining level. And yep, one look, the blue one, the color lifted from the blue motif, leaf motif, seemed to be much brighter, which is clearly evident that this particular paint is actually non-staining, which is why the triangular is empty label on the paint. It's almost white with a little bit of blue stains here and there, but overall you can see it's quite clean. And followed by the lamp black, which is actually semi-staining. You can notice there are some brighter white spots where I lifted the pigment, and I would blame it on the paper, which is cold press and it has rough texture. So due to that I couldn't lift it out fully, but you can see it's much brighter compared to the green one. If you notice the green one, despite removing the lifting the paint, somehow looks as if it has blended in, as in a light color wash. It doesn't look like I have lifted the pigment, whereas in the black one it's quite obvious that the color has been lifted. In the green one it looks more like a blending process or result of light washes given. You can see nearby. And secondly, since this is a very much opaque color, so probably, which is why I can't really show a fully semi-staining effect on the staining part of the color. Probably if I would have chosen a much lighter color, you would have seen a better impact, but unfortunately this is the only color I have from tube. And yep, so we shall conclude that this is a non-staining paint or color. This is semi-staining, and given the nature of this mild color of olive green yellowish, this is definitely a very much staining color, because paper doesn't look white at all. It's more of greenish, light greenish to yellowish. So the conclusion is, overall, as in why do we need to understand the characteristics of our colors, is it helps you to organize your painting process. For example, if you understand the nature of this green, which is very much staining, I would say you would definitely work much faster using this color if you want to achieve some special effect, as in lifting out colors, and as well as be more careful when you're painting to avoid mistakes, since the only way to correct watercolor mistakes is by quickly lifting out the pigment from the paper fast. So compared to the blue one, you can take time in lifting out the color for this particular blue, or adjusting your mistakes, but you need to quickly work when you're using this particular color. And also when it comes to opacity, you would understand that this particular color results in very dark effect. So you would want to work very slowly with this color or test it on small parts on your painting if you don't want a very dark looking painting or motif. And you might even want to use this color at a later stage of your painting and not at an early stage, because in watercolor painting we always start off painting with light washes followed by darker as we make progress on the painting. So just to show you once again how the Schmincke's website looks like when it comes to their catalog on colors or color cards. You can see here, this is the Horadam series, as I mentioned earlier, is professional colors. And if you want the standard colors, just click on the standard colors tab, and these are the super granulating that I mentioned with that granulating effect. You can see here they have various colors. Yes, and you notice here there are some colors that have got dual tones, dual or triple tones, which are really cool effect if you're planning to create something unique, especially in abstract painting. Okay, and you can notice here the ratings. Yes, if you click on it, you get much more detailed info, as I have demonstrated in this video. Price group is 3, which is one of the highest. The highest is 4. And of course your color code, which is already printed on your tubes, and if it's your pens, it's definitely on your half pens, because you can lose the label but shouldn't lose the color codes. So they have made it easier by printing it on the container of the palette. And yep, opacity, soluble or staining, and also the availability of the sizes, as in half pen, 5 ml and 15 ml tubes. So let's close this and get to the normal colors, standard colors. Okay, so I have actually chosen the highest level of light fastness, as you can see here, they're written here, and highest, which is the 5-star. So if you want to check out a satisfactory one, which is of 2-star, just like my violet that I showed in the video. Yep, yes, this violet, makeup violet, is of satisfactory, and you have the summarized symbol. Like I said, if you want the details, just click on it and read through. Okay, so you can choose based on your opacity. Okay, which is semi-transparent. Yep, I think that's what they mean, semi-glazing, semi-transparent. And let's say go back to general and staining. Yes, oops. So these are all the easily solvable or easily zero staining or less staining colors. Like I mentioned, this means less staining or no staining at all. And when it comes to opacity, it's either opaque, fully opaque, semi-opaque, semi-transparent and fully transparent. So if it's fully transparent, yep, as in this vinyl red, so it will be an empty square. So if you're using other paint brands, they should have a similar label. Of course it varies from brand to brand, but generally the basic info, as in the lightfastness, staining and opacity should be there, since these are the main characteristics of watercolor, and something that you have to consider when you're buying them, because if you don't understand this, then it may cause frustration, because if you get the wrong color with the wrong characteristics, you may not achieve the type of effect based on the expectations that you had. So I would advise you to study through the brand that you're using, especially all the professional brands. Understand all those colors. Color catalogs are available on their website for sure, and plan your purchases. So if you liked this demonstration and info that I have shared, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and do hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out any of my latest videos. So see you all once again on my channel.